What should someone never say in your country? I am German and asked a person that recently came here what he liked about our country. I did not expect the answer to be Hitler, but he was Austrian. Austria's two greatest tricks were convincing the world that Beethoven was Austrian and Hitler wasn't. I live in Japan, and the one thing I can say that consistently angers everyone is, the Kuril Islands are Russian territory. I am Russian, and the one thing I can say that consistently angers everyone is, the Kuril Islands are Japanese territory. I'm a Kuril Islander, and the one thing I can say that consistently angers everyone is, the Kuril Islands are not Kuril Islands territory. Sieg Heil. It's illegal, though you really have to mean it for actual prosecution to happen. My guess is Germany, so by really have to mean it, if you're singing a Nazi war chant would get you prosecuted. Again, depends on the intention and other contexts. Singing something like that with gusto would probably get you in trouble. I don't see an acceptable context, other than playing a character obviously. Reciting the text in a teaching capacity, for example, could be a totally different thing though. Leaving the stereotype aside, but if someone says, I hate carnival, samba, football, people will look at you in a strange way. I think around 2015, when I was in some kind of university class, one of the icebreakers was whether or not you like the Seahawks. I'm a Seattleite, and I happened to mention that I don't like the Seahawks, and everyone stared at me. Some were a bit angry. I had to include, I don't like football, and they were all satisfied and proceeded back to their usual class business. At least it's just because of lack of passion for the sport. No harm, no foul. I'm a fellow Seattleite and football lover, and can attest to how egregious it sounded before I finished reading the post in its entirety. Also, it's 2020, and that may seem slightly pathetic to you now, so it's understood. Enjoy your other passions. Never say anything about Brexit unless you are close to 100% sure the present company is on your side. I imagine it's the same in the US with Trump. Nah, we just speak our minds and get into political arguments. I'm not a cricket fanatic. Australian traveling through California signed in at a motel in Fresno. The bored Indian teenager behind the desk got so excited when he heard my accent because he could finally talk about the cricket. I had the same thing in a hired car in New York City. As soon as the driver heard my Aussie accent, it was straight to the cricket talk. I guess it would be strange being a cricket fan in the US. So you guys are Chinese, no? How do people from Hong Kong feel about the majority of the world viewing them as Chinese? It depends on what you mean by Chinese. Ethically Han Chinese, people are okay with it, but Hong Kong culture is more accurate because 157 years of UK rule have created a unique hybrid culture. Specify that they're Chinese in general, except a correction that specifies that they are Hong Konger. That's because the general term Chinese is now irrevocably linked to the People's Republic of China, the government of mainland China. I'm from India. What's it like living in a third world country? My computer has stopped working. I'm sure you'll be able to fix it, won't you? Hey, I can do a really good Indian accent impression, or anything about religion other than Hindu. Somewhat unrelated, but I did a great Indian accent impression against a scam call telling me about criminal activity on my SSN. The caller sounded Indian. I said my name was Narendra Modi, and they didn't catch on until I asked how I could bribe them to help me flee to Mexico. The Falklands are Argentine. I went to Argentina a few months ago and noticed that they included the Falklands on all their maps as if they own it. Islas Malvinas? As an Argentinian, I can confirm all maps do this. From a personal perspective, it's dumb. We still don't have proper closure with what happened, and it definitely doesn't help that a lot of the people that fought are still alive and that politicians use that as a tool. Hola or gracias. If you're from Spain and come to Portugal and speak Spanish, we don't mind it. We just get annoyed when foreigners think we are Spanish or that we speak Spanish. Do you guys hate us? Buenas noches desde España. We don't hate you. The Welsh are basically just English. It's a principality, not a country, etc. Your language is pointless and it's a waste of money to keep it alive. Everyone just speaks English anyway. That first one will definitely get a reaction. I'm Welsh and part English. The Rugby World Cup is always interesting to say the least. Oh, for sure, haha. I was in a flat at university with 8 people, including myself, and we were split right down the middle, 4 Welsh and 4 English. The Six Nations were absolutely brutal. We all got along really well until the lead up to the matches, during which we spat on each other's ancestors, naturally. Your anthem sucks. Hey now, EA is not a country. If it were, the citizens would have to pay for the food boxes, healthcare boxes, education boxes. Pass the non-maple syrup. It's called syrup de puta in Quebec, implying that it was tapped from a telephone pole and not a maple tree. How you doing yet? Beep! Okay, so you're clearly not Australian. Big old American here. Do not drop the C word in the States. No, I don't think the beaver is a majestic animal. It's not our official animal because it's majestic. It's because we were only settled deeper than the coast because Europe loved them as hats, and their ass gland is really useful. They're rodents who look funny. We killed millions of them, so we owed them official animal status. Just like bald eagles, eh? I'm not a huge fan of the bald eagle being our national bird, but it was picked for the great seal centuries before we started killing them off with DDT in the mid-1900s. I think Franklin had it right when he wrote, "For my own part, I wish the bald eagle had not been chosen the representative of our country. He is a bird of bad moral character. He does not get his living honestly. Besides, he is a rank coward. The little kingbird, not bigger than a sparrow, attacks him boldly and drives him out of the district." The founders picked it because they drew comparisons to the Roman Republic, which used an eagle. Personally, I would support the American robin, Turdus migratorius, as a better choice since it's incredibly common and lives year-round in most of the U.S. It's widely recognized by Americans and seen as a sign of spring and the beginning of a new year of growth. The blue jay would be another option, but mostly because of how big of an asshole it is. That you don't like tacos? Norway. Yes, Norway has a weird obsession with tacos and has its own shelves on the store with it. I know people that don't like tacos, but yeah, a bunch of us have a weird obsession with tacos. And frozen pizza. Yep, I know people who don't like it, but everyone is shocked when others don't. And it is just a weird cultural thing that a lot of people don't know before coming here. This poutine tastes awful. As a Canadian, I've definitely said it before. Good poutine is incredible, but there are some bad ones out there. String fries don't belong with poutine. Top of the morning to ya. Literally nobody ever says that here, but the Americans love it for some reason. Yes, same with shrimp on the Barbie. Literally no one says that. They're not even called shrimps here, they're called prawns. Yet every American tourist that comes over insists upon saying it. As an American, I don't understand why we think it's a thing. How often are you going to be barbecuing shrimp anyway? I'm Russian. Americans won the World War II. Alternatively, but less offensive to most Russians, we've only won World War II because the Americans helped us. Soviet soldiers raped many German women and it was a war crime. War crime could be done by victors too, and it was ultimately wrong. Stalin was an incompetent leader with a criminal background. The intervention against Bolsheviks during the Civil War, 1918 to 1922, by Western militaries was not an attempt to conquer Russia, but to stop the Bolshevik Revolution, and plenty of Russians joined the Brits, Poles, French, Americans, Czechs, and others in fighting against the Bolsheviks. Estonia did not join the USSR in 1940 based on a referendum and wish of the people to live in a peaceful, progressive communist country. This was an occupation, no different from the German occupation of Czechoslovakia. Eastern Europeans don't dislike the USSR because they are Nazis and are ungrateful for us defeating Nazi Germany and liberating the Auschwitz. They just don't like what we did with the whole Iron Curtain thing after 1945. Russia is 2.5% of the global economy. They only listen to us because we have a ton of ICBMs, a powerful imperial and Soviet legacy. If we started at this level, the US would have treated us like Iran or Venezuela, as would our Chinese allies. No, the rest of the world isn't united with us to overthrow Western imperialism, and they wouldn't join our side if we decided to invade NATO countries. They aren't waiting for us to start the struggles. They aren't secretly plotting to liberate themselves from American oppression. No, not even China would support us. We've been alone in that. Hitler had some good visions, but a bad spirit. Yeah, that is totally acceptable in most countries. I'll kill your children just after I'm done with your wife. Yeah, I can see how people might not like that. Why are you putting milk in your tea? That's disgusting. It depends on what kind of tea you're drinking. Here in Hong Kong, we drink traditional Chinese tea without milk, but we have something called Hong Kong-style milk tea. It's literally one of the best beverages ever. I'm from Israel, so anything you'll say, someone will probably get mad for it. Why? Political issues. The fact that about every one of the different groups, different religious, right-wing, left-wing, and so on, will say something different, and some of them will be extremists. The fact is, we have too many a-holes here. You see where I'm going? But I guess most of these are problems that are present in most countries. Any insult towards Spanish food will put you in jail. We really love the Mediterranean diet. I'm from Brazil. It wasn't really a dictatorship, referring to the dictatorship in the period of 1964 to 1985. Yes, it was a dictatorship, and people got tortured and killed. I live in Ireland. If you're visiting as an American, especially, don't bother telling us about your Irish heritage or how Irish you are and how great it feels to reconnect with your roots. Nobody cares, and every American before you has said it too. You're not Irish because your great-great-great-granddad lived in Kerry and then moved to America when he was 3. You're a plastic patty. Fair enough if one of your parents is from Ireland or you lived here at one point, but otherwise, you're just kind of making a show of yourself. So, I live across the country from the fam and went back to visit for Christmas one year. Hadn't seen that side of my family for quite some time. At one point, my aunt, who was very into researching the genealogy of our family, tells a story about how they went to Ireland to see some of the areas that our family came from as far back as they could find. Mind you, this was a couple hundred years ago at least. Anywho, she eventually got to a point where she said she walked up to somebody's house to ask them something about it. If they had any old deed information, old paperwork, etc. I forgot how it happened, but I guess she ended up staying there a day or two. The way she told it, I kinda got the impression she was imposing, but the residents didn't want to be rude. I died a little inside listening to the story, and it just reminded me, yikes. We saved you in World War II. Only really comes from Americans when in England. It's extremely disrespectful to the hundreds of thousands that lost their lives defending our home. Many families to this day are still affected by the war, be it family members not alive while their widows and children still are. Men who lost their friends in foreign fields, and bombs that didn't explode being found, causing a reminder of what the country endured to remain sovereign. So if you say this, you will quickly find that no one wants to talk to you. I don't understand your accent. Still, game isn't funny and it sucks. Iron brew tastes like cough medicine and it's disgusting. Are you Catholic or Protestant? I voted Tory. Alternatively, Boris Johnson, you have to hand it to him. Well, since they changed how they make it, apparently you can still find proper iron brew in the Netherlands and a few other places in mainland Europe.